Geographic nerds of the whole world, reunite! In today's video, we want to have a look at one of the most fascinating anomalies that you can find on a political map: enclaves and exclaves, territories belonging to one country that are, however, entirely surrounded by another country. I wanted to visit a place like this for a very long time, and after extensive research, I found that the best location to succeed in my mission would be the Fergana Valley, an ethnically diverse region that is now divided into three republics of the former Soviet Union: Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan. The borders between the three stands before the USSR was fairly contiguous, and the region had nothing remarkable, apart from the fact that it was very remote and isolated due to the fact that it's surrounded by the tallest mountains of Central Asia. Most of the region used to belong to Uzbekistan until the 1950s, when the Soviet Union randomly decided to give part of the territories south of Fergana city to Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, while keeping a few villages under Uzbek jurisdiction that were now disconnected from their homeland. The Fergana Valley exclaves were now created, with the main ones being Shahimardon, Sokh, and Vorukh, and lots of other small ones in the vicinity. For this video, I decided to venture into one of these Uzbek exclaves, with the caveat that this would not be an easy mission to undertake, as there's barely any info on the internet on the entry rules to these territories. That's why I decided to set my eyes on the exclave of Shahimardon as my first option, as it was the closest, but I was also ready to consider the other exclaves as my plan B, or even C. Greetings from the capital of Uzbekistan, from Tashkent, and it's right here from Tashkent that we'll be leaving on our journey to the Uzbek exclave inside Kyrgyz territory of Shahimardon. So our plan is going to be that this morning, it's very much morning, it's 17 minutes past 5. Wow, that's crazy early. I've slept 2 hours and that's it. That's crazy. But anyway, this morning we'll be taking a train to Fergana, which is the capital of the region of the Fergana Valley. And obviously, Shahimardon is right inside that region. But in order to get from Fergana, from the capital of the region, to Shahimardon, you need to cross not one border, but two borders, because we will have to get out of Uzbekistan into Kyrgyzstan and then back into Uzbekistan again. I mean, mind-blowing. That's just how exclaves work, right? And as I said before, there's very little information on the internet if and how foreigners can actually get inside the territory of Shahimardon. The only way that we can find out is just by going there and getting as close as possible to the southernmost border of Uzbekistan, and hopefully we will have a clearer idea on how to get to Shahimardon once we get to Fergana. So let's jump on a taxi and let's go and visit the railway station of Tashkent, because there's only one daily train to Fergana and I don't want to miss it. I then jumped on the taxi, which was obviously a Chevrolet, as it is usually the case in Uzbekistan. Assalamu alaikum. Interestingly enough, however, this one was not white. Вокзал, да? Северный вокзал до Ферганы, да? Это правильно? Да? Фергана. Хорошо, спасибо. Let me tell you the reason why I was so keen in getting to Fergana. What is evident from the very little info that you can find on the internet on how to get to the Fergana Valley exclaves, and specifically Shahimardon, is that this is an incredibly difficult task. Very few explorers and travelers have attempted the crossing of the border of the Fergana Valley exclaves, and those who did not succeed, largely due to a lack of clarity. It seems to be, although nobody is quite sure about it, that foreigners are not allowed to cross the land border into the Fergana Valley exclaves, which are open only for the residents of said exclaves. However, when discussing my intentions with people from the region of Fergana through the power of the internet, people suggested the idea of attempting the border crossing on the car of a local taxi driver, which would have allegedly guaranteed me entry to the exclave of Shahimardon. That was according to a random Uzbek user with a dubious nickname and no profile picture that I had found on Instagram. These Uzbek soms are just something else, man. They've got so many zeros. One of these days I'll end up buying something that costs 10,000 som with a 100,000 som banknote, thus paying 10 times more. But hey, the taxi ride was only 25,000 som, not even $2, so it's all good. And we've made it to the railway station of Tashkent. Well, that's our train, and this is also the moment for me to make a little confession. It's not the easiest region to travel around, and that's the reason why, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a bodyguard for today.
What's up?
How reliable do you think this bodyguard is going to be? What's your name,
best,
again?
bro,
I've known you for a couple of years, but I'm still going to ask your name.
Pavelos Bonacelli.
Pavel Bonacelli. What did you say again? Pavel Bonacelli, and he's gonna come with us and guide us through the most rural parts of Uzbekistan all the way to Fergana.
Yes.
Are you gonna come with us to the exclave as well of Shahimardon?
I'm scared, man.
You're scared?
I don't know
Alright.
if I can make it.
Alright,
I don't want to get imprisoned.
Alright, probably you're not the right bodyguard for this trip then. Hey! But there's no turning back at this point. Let's jump on this train. Это хороший вагон, да? Хорошо? Рахмат, спасибо. Спасибо. Alright, dude, so before you fall asleep for this train ride, are you coming with me to the Uzbek exclave?
Yes, sir. Let's go.
Nice, so what is the plan? We're gonna get to Fergana and then what?
Then we'll just go with the flow.
We'll just go with the flow indeed, because I mean, I read that it's not really possible for foreigners, or at least it's very difficult for foreigners to get into the exclave, but that's for non-former Soviet people. Are you a former Soviet person?
Yes.
Like what passports do you have?
Russian passport.
Okay.
US passport.
So do you think it might be easier for you? By the way, let me give you a tour of a third-class wagon, Platzkar wagon, in Uzbekistan. My first time on an Uzbek train. Yo, dude, today I'm losing my Uzbek train virginity. What do you think? It's pretty cool, right?
Congratulations.
This is a wagon where everything is in the open. So we've got one bed here, we've got two beds here, and then we've got a few lateral beds as well. I think this train ride was like, I don't know, how much was the train ride? $10? $10 for a 4-hour train ride to Fergana. Yeah, doesn't look too bad. And look at this, you've even got USB outlets. Do you get USB outlets on trains in America? Apparently there are some kids on the train who want to make acquaintance with me.
У меня руки грязные.
О, почему у тебя руки грязные?
А откуда знаю?
А ты не знаешь, ты просто так разбудился так.
Да.
Как тебя зовут?
Меня зовут Нематулла.
О, у вас так сложнее меня в Узбекистане. Еще раз.
Нематулла.
Нематлоло?
Нематулла.
Нематуло. Правильно? Нематуло? Окей, окей. Очень приятно. Нематуло. А у тебя нет Луи Виттона?
Мы с ним друг. А этот чел просто спит и ничего не делает.
Он спит и ничего. Он просто он не спал ночью. I feel bad for Pavel because he's trying to sleep, and I've brought forward this like group of screaming young Uzbek kids who won't let him sleep. But yeah, alright, keep sleeping, man. Вы знаете, куда мы хотим? Мы хотим в Эксклав, Шахи. Вы знаете, вы слышали место Шахимардон? Никогда не слышали?
Я слышал.
Shahimardon? But yeah, if you're planning on visiting random militarized Uzbek exclaves in the middle of nowhere, don't ask 8-year-old kids because they didn't seem too interested in Shahimardon. Kids these days, man.
Вы что, на видео снимаете?
Да, я снимаю.
Подождите, я только камеры мечтал, но меня родители не
Ну,
знают.
посмотри. Хочешь снимать? Да, попробуй. Давай, делай так. Что хочешь сказать? Скажи привет. Давай.
Можно, пожалуйста, на английском?
Ты хочешь на английском разговаривать?
Да.
Ну, скажи что-то на английском.
А это сейчас видео снимаете?
Да, включено.
Прямой эфир?
Это не прямой эфир.
Это шорт? Всем привет, кто?
Не надо так, не надо. Это хорошее, да, я держу.
My name is Mustafa.
Oh, your name is Mustafa?
My name is Mustafa. Hello!
Mustafa, what is your name?
My name is Cameron Bek.
Cameron.
is Muhammad Ali.
Oh wow, you guys are slow. I don't understand. You guys have very difficult names. No English?
My name is Moses. Hello.
Hello.
А у вас сколько подписчиков? А этот чел все равно спит.
Он все равно спит.
Меня жалко, не знаю почему.
Тебе жалко, что? Потому что он спит?
Да.
Ну, можешь разбудить. Да, давай. Давай.
А у вас сколько подписчиков?
Oh my god, Pavel is going to kill me after this.
Давайте подписывайтесь на этот канал, чтобы наброс миллиард подписчиков. Давай, пацаны. Это же ютубер, он для вас всегда старается. 4 визу и мистер Бин.
Мистер Бин, о!
Мистер Бист.
Мистер Бист. Что думаете, что лучше, я или мистер Бист? Я.
У вас сколько денег, что вы стали ютубером? У ютуберов много денег.
Нет, мы на плацкартах путешествуем, видишь? Если у нас было деньги, мы на СВ первый класс. So while the kids keep playing around, we have now just started seeing some mountains because we're just now starting to get into the mountainous chain that marks the entrance to the Fergana Valley. The Fergana Valley that was one of the most remote and isolated regions in the whole of the Soviet Union. Не трогай.
Вы снимаете?
Да, я снимаю. Подожди, я говорю что-то важного, очень важного. So we'll have to be careful, we'll need to keep aware of our surroundings because at the end of the day this is a hardcore region. These mountains right here were not crossed by any railway line, by any road at the times of the Soviet Union, which is the reason why the region was very much isolated and life inside the Fergana Valley was and has been historically very different from the kind of life that people used to live in Soviet Uzbekistan, in the rest of Soviet Uzbekistan. So we don't even know if people actually speak Russian there. Dude, do you think people in Fergana speak Russian?
Let me sleep, bro.
And by the way, the other place where we will really need to be careful is obviously if we do manage to get into the exclaves, which I'm going to show you on the map just now. So you can see the blue dot on the map as we are venturing into the part of Uzbekistan that is definitely not seen by as many foreigners as Samarkand or Bukhara in the other part of Uzbekistan. And if I go south down here, you can see Fergana, you can see the border between Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan, and then you can see Shahyamardon, which is one, and you can see Sokh, which is the other Uzbek exclave inside Kyrgyzstan. And at the end of the day, we'll need to be very careful because these are hotspots. According to Karavanistan, violent border clashes are common because of growing populations, a lack of resources, and a lack of clarity over who owns what. So these are even disputed territories that we're trying to get into today. And actually, we have just now entered a tunnel, which makes me think that this is indeed the official entrance to the Fergana Valley. Dude, how do you feel about officially entering the Fergana Valley? Are you excited?
Yes, bro, I'm excited. I can't wait.
Alright, so I'm starving, so I'm gonna go and ask the Provanyek if there's a restaurant vegan on this train. And hopefully, if there's no restaurant carriage, at least there'll be some doshirak that the Provanyek can sell to us. Скажите, пожалуйста, вагон ресторана здесь нету, да? А у вас что-то кушать есть? Нет.
Надо ехать попта. Попта через нам?
Да. Который час?
Попозже, да.
Через сколько?
Причем не повыхар попта. Попта не поле.
5 минут уже в поп. Хорошо, спасибо. Dude, I'm starving. How about we stop at the next town and we get off the train and then we continue to Fergana by car? How about that?
That sounds good, man. Let's try it. Let's try it.
You wanna try it? I can't hear you, man. Louder.
My ears are popped, bro.
Did you say that you actually know somebody in the area where we're going to?
Yeah, I have some relatives there. We can give them a call, see how they can help us out.
Are they in Fergana proper?
Yeah, in Kokan.
Kokan, so that's another town, right? Okay.
Yeah, 1 hour away from Pop.
Right, so we can get off the train at the next town, which is Pop. Nice name for a town. It's popping.
Yeah.
So we can get off the train at Pop, go to Kokand where your friend lives, and then maybe have some food there and then continue on to Fergana later today. Alright, so we're going to have a bit of a change of plan and we're gonna get off at the next town because we're starving, man, and there's no restaurant carriage on this train and there's no doshirak for us. Пока, была очень приятно.
Пока. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, have you ever got off on more random stuff?
It does feel very random, which is making me question our decision of stopping at this place. Это большой город, нет?
Миллионник, блядь. New York.
Спасибо, Rahmat, Khair. So let's say thanks, Spasiba, Rahmat, to this amazing train that took us all the way to the very beginning of the Fergana Valley. Now it's a question, so we need to go to Kokand to meet your friend. The question is, how? Because this does not seem to be the most well-connected place on earth. It looks pretty small, but it's got a very nice railway station. The railway station is already better than the one in, I don't know, freaking Northamptonshire or something.
It's a place that has a lot of memes.
Spasiba всем. Pop. Pop.
Popsicle,
It's
pop.
popping, man. I like the name, Pop. After reaching the famous town of Pop, we needed to get on a taxi onwards, hopefully at a good price, to Kokand. There we were supposed to meet with Pavel's friend, who hopefully later in the day was going to act as a fixer in finding us a trusted driver all the way to Shakimardon.
I think you should hide your camera so we don't get overcharged at this point.
Oh,
Because
so
if
that
they see
nobody
you talking,
realizes
it's
that we're
fine.
foreigners, right? Yeah. If I have my camera, surely no one will understand that we're foreigners. Assalamu alaikum. I let Pavel handle the negotiating part. To be honest, it felt really nice to finally have somebody to outsource this bit to from time to time. And a few minutes later, we were inside our second Chevrolet of the day, and this one was white indeed. Grande Pavel, il contrattatore. So how much are we gonna pay for this ride?
For now, we agreed to 150 after he saw that
150,000 som. How much is that in normal currency?
$14.
14 bucks. $7 each. Yeah, for 38 kilometers, it's good enough. The reason why we don't want to overpay too much for taxis now is because, according to the info that we could find, very limited info that we could find on the internet, the only way that maybe we'll be able to get into Shakimardon is by hiring a private driver from Fergana, and that's gonna cost bucks because it will be over 2 hours of driving from Fergana. So we're trying to save money on this stage of the trip. We've agreed to 14 bucks all the way to Kokand, where we're gonna have some food and we're gonna meet Pavel's friend. But we're getting closer. We're in the Fergana Valley. А вы живете в Попе?
Да,
Поп? И как здесь Поп? Кажется, интересный. Ну, это поселок или городок?
городок.
Городок? Okay.
Маленький городок.
Маленький городок. Okay. Well, this place doesn't seem to be really popping, right, dude?
Not too much.
It's like a small town / village. Oh, this is the main road. Okay, okay. This already looks like a nice town. You've got a supermarket there, a few more people. Wow.
8,000 people, bro.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's not that bad. I mean, we're paying 14 bucks for this, but at least we're getting a guided tour of Pop, which is an extra for today, right? Oh, Ilada Shiguli, can you see that? And then we continued on towards the outskirts of the small town of Pop and then onwards onto the rural roads of the Fergana Valley towards Kokand. We've made it to the outskirts of Kokand, and in a few minutes we should get to the designated place where we've agreed to meet with Pavel's friend. When was the last time that you saw your friend?
30 years ago?
30 years ago?
Yeah.
Is that real? Like when you were born?
No.
Like he's a childhood friend or
we
something?
saw each other one time in my life.
And that's it?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Dang. So how is he a friend of yours?
A cousin, man.
Oh, so it's like family stuff.
A distant relative of
A
mine.
distant relative. Okay, how lucky are we to get into this place in random nowhere in Uzbekistan? And yeah, we're very lucky that we've got a distant relative of yours, Pavel. who is gonna show us the way to Fergana and the exclave of Shahimardon. Apparently we are meeting at the railway station of Kokand in Uzbek and Kokhand in Russian. And as soon as we got to Kokhand, we finally met Pavel's 8th degree cousin, who didn't speak any English, spoke very little Russian, but he was still very much willing to help us out. Davide.
Italian.
And so we got into his car so that he could drive us to a restaurant first, and then later on in the day to Fergana, where hopefully we were going to find and meet a local taxi driver to take us to Shahimardon. And this car was obviously a white Chevrolet. Oh, we're now moving to this car? Yeah, normal. Alright. Oh, we're literally going from one Chevrolet to another white Chevrolet, right? Hasan, очень приятно, Hasan. Спасибо и рахмат. Помочь? Спасибо, рахмат.
Покушаем? И потом поедем, да? В Фергану.
А как здесь жить в Коханде? Хорошо?
Жизнь, как жизнь? Тяжело, хорошо? О, хорошо.
Кажется, жарко. Более жарко, чем Ташкент.
Да.
Очень жарко здесь.
Check out the vibes though, like the people.
Yeah, lots of people. Oh, yeah.
All wearing hijab.
Yeah, you're right. Well, we're really learning a lot about life here in the Fergana Valley, in the most conservative place in the most conservative region of... Oh, there's a Khrushchevka.
Yeah,
over
the
there.
only Soviet building here.
Yeah, there are not that many Soviet buildings, right? It does feel like a lot different from the rest of the former Soviet Union, I have to say. So many women wearing their hijabs, and I don't know, it just does feel very conservative.
А итальянские есть рестораны или нет? Нет, в Коканде нету. Спагетти, макарони.
Все равно, я хочу традиционную ферганскую еду. Вот это.
Ди ларго.
Это итальянский. Di largo. Bro, what the heck?
Just for you.
Bro, I think your friend took us to like the fanciest restaurant in Kokand for the occasion.
I told him we're coming. He said, "Wow, from Italy, from the United States."
Wow.
Take you to the.
I mean, can you ask him if this is the first time that he meets a random Italian guy in Kokand?
That's a good question.
So yeah, Pavel was obviously joking when he was talking and asking about Italian food, but Hasan still took us to the best, and maybe only, Italian restaurant in town. That was unfreaking expected and very random, but it really speaks volumes of the incredible Uzbek hospitality. What do you think about this place, dude?
I didn't expect to be in this type of a fancy restaurant in Kokand today.
Yeah,
On this trip at all.
I was expecting a random Soviet stolove somewhere on the outskirts of Kokand, but instead, look at us here at Di Largo restaurant. While waiting for the food, it really hit me that we were now very close to the goal for our mission. So I tried to extract some more info from our newly acquired friend. Ты был в Шахимардоне? Из Ферганы? Вау. Мы сильно хотим. Ты думаешь, что нам получается поехать в Шахимардон? Как иностранцы?
Да.
Получается? Окей. Я доверяю местного человека.
Горы.
Красивые горы.
Озеро есть или нет уже? Есть. Есть еще, да? Озеро.
I mean, nature is nice and all, but what I really was dying to see was the territory of one country that was inside the territory of another country. And to me, that's crazy. Как вам еда? Хорошо? Хорошо. Рахмат. Oh, I've literally just had the nicest pasta I've ever had in Uzbekistan. And the funny bit is that this was the first time I've ever had pasta in Uzbekistan. But still, and I've got some Caesar salad to add. And some nice unalcoholic mojito, because apparently Fergana is a dry region. So no alcohol is allowed in Fergana, which is fine, because I don't drink anyway. By the way, the reason that I've gone for the salad is because I need something healthy. You don't want to get diarrhea while you're crossing the border into an Uzbek exclave in the middle of the mountains in Central Asia.
not so excited about this food.
And we're now exiting the restaurant once again on the red carpet that you can see here. Oh my god, I feel like an Uzbek celebrity walking outside of this Italian restaurant, which is right next to an Italian car wash, Lux Wash, with the Italian flag. Amazing. But now, thanks for the memories, Kohan. It's about time to head to Fergana, the very last city before the Kyrgyz border and before the exclave of Shahimardon. So boys, what's the plan?
Какой план? Фергана.
В Фергану, а в Фергане что мы делаем? Так что мы будем искать водителя там?
Водителя есть номер или надо найти его?
So we're gonna meet this guy there in Fergana and then we leave?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do we know how much that is going to cost us?
28 per person.
28 per person?
Yes.
Отвлекаешься, смотри на дорогу, а? В Америке запрещено это делать, чтобы не смотрели.
Right, so this is the plan. Fortunately, very fortunately, Hassan knows somebody who we can meet in Fergana to continue onwards to Shahimardon. Across the two border crossings, effectively, that we will have to go through in order to get into Kyrgyzstan first and then into the exclave of Shahimardon. It's not going to be a guarantee because Hassan did tell us that this guy in particular did not have any foreigners on that road ever before, so we're not quite sure that's going to work, but that's literally the only option that we have. The other thing that is weighing on my mind is that I'm thinking that it is possible that the very first obstacle will not occur once the time comes to cross the border from Kyrgyzstan into the exclave, because I'm also thinking that the border crossing that is immediately to the south of Fergana is quite small and is not very much crossed by that many people on a daily basis, which makes me think that there's a possibility that that border crossing is bilateral, meaning that it's open only for citizens of Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan, but I'm not quite sure. So after we get onto the car in Fergana, it is possible that we might be rejected at the very first border crossing to get out of Uzbekistan into Kyrgyzstan, which would obviously be a very big problem, but only one way to find out. While on the way to Fergana, Hassan stopped to pick up another friend, likely to have even more people trying to help us out in what was slowly becoming a very tense mission. Чуть-чуть знаю русский.
Where are you from?
I'm from... О, английский знаете? I'm from Italy.
From Italy?
Italy. Знаете Италию, да? Да.
Венеция. До сих пор это столица Рим там?
До сих пор столица Рим, да. Рим как Ташкент, столица. Большие города, очень много людей. Знаете, куда мы? Do you know where we're going?
To Fergana.
Да, but then afterward, Shahimardon. Do you know Shahimardon?
Да, I know.
Have you been?
Yes, I know Shahimardon. Это Shahimardon.
Мы хотим туда.
Shahimardon хотел?
Да.
Там горы туда-сюда.
Это красиво. Посмотрим, если пускают.
Природа и этот гор, больше ничего нету там. Mussolini это был министр обороны, да?
Ну, он был глава государства, фашистского государства Италии.
И еще этого я же. Отто фон Бисмарк, да?
Отто, он из Германии. О, вы знаете
он из
историю.
Германии, да?
Вы хорошо изучаете историю в Узбекистане.
Я в хорошей школе учил. Он немецкий этот?
Он немецкий, да, но я не помню, что он сделал. Я любил более географию, чем историю в школе.
National Geographic.
National Geographic. Ну, я хотел работать для National Geographic. Поехать в Норильск, представляешь? За National Geographic.
Хороший этот. Почему люди...
Bro, can you see the massive Uzbek flag to the right?
Wow, that's fucking huge, bro.
It is, that's right, because we're still in Uzbekistan, but hopefully, in a couple of hours, we'll be in Kyrgyzstan, and then, in 3 or 4 hours, we'll be in Uzbekistan again, and see that flag potentially flying over Shahimardon. Now that we had made our way to Fergana, the moment of truth was approaching. After a wait of a few minutes, we finally met Hassan's contact, a middle-aged Uzbek man who was a resident of Shahimardon and who, earlier in the day, had driven 2 hours from Shahimardon into Fergana just to meet with us. I was absolutely over the moon. For the first time, I had the chance to meet and speak to a real Shahimardonian. And I have to say, things at the beginning, for the moment, were looking good.
Проблем не будет.
Пропускают в Шахимардон? Вы делаете экскурсии по Шахимардоне. О, замечательно.
Да.
Хорошо,
Типа, короче, гид.
Гид, замечательно.
Потому что он там живет, он там коренной
Вы в
люди, да.
Шахимардоне живете?
Он прекрасно знает,
О, боже мой.
где там.
Ну, класс, давай. Dude, the dude lives in freaking Shahimardon.
I told you this, you never
insane.
listened. I told you that he has a taxi driver who lives there and that's the only way we can get in.
Wow, it's amazing. It's amazing. This is getting encouraging. And yeah, I spoke too soon. Way too soon. In the most sudden turn of events that I've ever witnessed in the history of turn of events, our contact from Shahimardon picked up the phone, made a phone call, and all of a sudden he told us that we, as foreigners, would not be allowed into Shahimardon. He said that he had just checked on the phone with a friend of his that supposedly worked for the police in Shahimardon, and we were like, why didn't you do this like 4 hours ago?
Этот кыргызстанский пропускает, а другой люди... это я помню, да. Другой люди я не видел.
Both the border between Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan south of Fergana and the border between Kyrgyzstan and the exclave of Shahimardon are bilateral only, meaning that they can be crossed only by citizens of Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. Even if you're on a car with a local resident, unlike the info that we had gotten from somewhere on Instagram. And that was very frustrating and very hard to take, especially considering all the work that we had put in throughout the day. Hence, what I wanted to do was really explore every single option that was available to us. Сколько времени получить гражданство? Можно сегодня? Не, понятно, если нельзя, нельзя, но так что, в Шахимардон по сухой границе нельзя. Сох по сухой границе нельзя. Можно, наверное, по самолету, если летают. И вы говорите, что летают. 3 Uzbeks, 1 Italian, 1 Russian American arguing over the entry rules to an Uzbek exclave in southern Kyrgyzstan. It doesn't get any better than that.
He told me 2 weeks ago, I told you, he has a guy who lives there who will come.
No, I understand, it's not your fault. The disappointment of not being able to get into Shahimardon was soul-crushing, but a good explorer of our kind always needs to keep up their spirit. That's what me and Pavel tried to do, already thinking of the next destination of our plan B, the other exclaves. There was indeed another exclave by the name of Soch that was just a couple of hours away from Shahimardon, still in the region. The exclave of Soch apparently has got the same entry rules as Shahimardon, meaning that foreigners are not allowed to cross the land border into the exclave. However, Soch does have one thing that Shahimardon doesn't have, which is an airport. According to various internet sources, there's a weekly flight on a 41-year-old Antonov 2 leaving from Fergana to the exclave of Soch, crucially bypassing Kyrgyzstan, meaning that if we were to jump on that flight, there was no land border that we would be rejected at. Но я вижу только один вариант, чтобы посмотреть такие интересные земли в аэропорт.
Можно съездить в воды или...
Тогда сегодня здесь останешься.
Да, но Шахимардон часть Узбекистана внутри Кыргызстана. We decided to give it a try and head to the airport just to see if there was indeed a flight to Soch from Fergana leaving on that day. Я хотел посмотреть Шахимардон именно или Сох.
Сох только через аэропорт.
Man, so many of my missions recently have been failed missions I just cannot accept. That I came all the way to freaking Fergana and then we need to abort the mission like that. I mean, it's fine to have aborted missions every once in a while, but this is getting frustrated, man. Так что, человек что сделал? Он живет там и приехал сюда специально для нас, а сейчас обратно он?
Он приехал сюда, чтобы пообщаться, ему скучно было сидеть в эксклаве, он приехал и хотел сказать нам плохие новости в лицо, а не по телефону. This is the thing I was telling you about. Maybe this is the part of the culture. Like, if you have bad news, you must say it about face to face. This could be 100%.
There's a lot of sadness in this car. There's a lot of silence. There was a lot of excitement and great expectations for this mission. Before we got the chance to speak to that someone from, who's actually that Uzbek guy who actually lives in Shahimardon. And we got the bad news. Righty, so this is the moment of truth. Today, we'll find out if this mission will end in complete failure or if maybe we'll have a chance to salvage this video. We're here at the airport, the majestic Fergana Al Kharo airport. And yeah, this is literally our last resort. Let's ask for a bus ticket, or rather for a plane ticket rather than a bus one, to the second exclave, to our plan B for today. The plan was to see if there was a flight to Soch either on that day or at the very latest the day after. Any day later than that would have been too late due to the time constraints that we had. I just can't waste all my holidays hunting Uzbek exclaves, man. По-русски можно? Подскажите, пожалуйста, это правильно, что для иностранцев единственный способ, чтобы поехать или в Шахимардон, или в Сох, это на самолете, да? По сухой границе не пускают. One of our Uzbek fixers came to help once again, but once again he couldn't be of much help either. The situation was looking grim.
Uzbekistondan qo'ymasa, mana apa qarang, Uzbekistondan qo'ymayapti, hozir. Bular hozir So'xga o'chaman deyapti, qarang. So'xdan kirsa bo'ladimi? Погран ездит там этот люди сидит, они точно знают, пропустит или нет. Она сказала сейчас, если сейчас завтра улетает, да, в Сох, они тоже, может быть, не пропускают.
У нас говорят в Италии, если хочешь посмотреть эксклав, это не просто. Всегда так говорят. Well, we did go and ask the guys at passport control at Fergana airport. Thankfully, there was a flight to Turkey leaving in that afternoon, meaning that border police was actually there. And we did get confirmation that if we did indeed jump on a flight from Fergana to Soch, we would have definitely been allowed into the exclave, but the problem was that there was no flight leaving to Soch for another 3 days, meaning that would have taken us over the allocated time that I had for this mission. Our plan B was also to be thrown into the bin.
Ленин, блядь, так не залезет. Только Ленин так сделал.
Но был Сталин, нет?
Не, какой Сталин? Ленин.
Ну, последней границе рисовал Сталин.
Не, типа расселил этот население.
Вот, смотри.
Ленин
Ученик Ленина.
Переселял. Понял.
А потом границы уже нарисовались при Сталине.
Сталин ученик все равно в Ленина.
After failing to see either Shahimardon or Soch, I really wanted to be done with Uzbekistan for at least some time. My disappointment was incommensurable and my day was ruined, so we were already thinking of ways to leave the country ASAP. We were thinking, for example, of leaving to nearby Kyrgyzstan and traveling to the second largest city of Kyrgyzstan, that is Osh. However, when we were looking at the route on Google Maps from Fergana to Osh, that's when we noticed something interesting. So we have decided that we are going to the second largest city in Kyrgyzstan, which goes by the name of Osh, which is not far from the border between Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan, and look at what I found on the map. So this is where we are, Fergana. This is Osh, our destination, and look at what we have right above the suggested route from Google Maps to take us to Osh. This, ladies and gentlemen, is another exclave. Woo! Nearby the border with Kyrgyzstan towards Osh, but still well inside Uzbek territory, there was a line forming a circular shape, inside of which there was a name, Barak. So supposedly there was a village there with no further info on Google Maps, with no roads leading up to said village, but what was clear was that this was Kyrgyz territory. So this was a Fergana Valley exclave that was the opposite to Shakhimardon and Sokh, because this was Kyrgyz territory inside Uzbek territory. And if we had indeed decided to travel to Osh to spend the night, then that meant that we would have passed very close to this place. Are you thinking what I'm thinking, dude?
Ooh!
I mean, I know that I've asked you a lot today already, but are you up to have our final attempt?
Last try.
Last try? I mean, we can just get a taxi to Osh. We can deviate from the road. And then we try and see if there's anything inside of this place right here, which according to the map is part of Kyrgyzstan, but it's inside... Oh, no, I've lost it. Well, it's basically part of Kyrgyzstan inside Uzbekistan. So it's basically the opposite to Shakhimardon. So what, dude, you wanna try it?
Yeah, let's go see it, see how the Kyrgyz people live in Barak.
I don't know if I can take the heartbreak though. Then there was no way that we could have asked Pavel's cousin Hassan to take us even further to attempt with us the third exclave of the day. So it was time to agree on a new white Chevrolet to take us towards Osh with a stopover at the Kyrgyz exclave of Barak. And by white Chevrolet, I mean that obviously we needed to get a new taxi. Потому что эксклав. Я видел, что в картине есть другой эксклав, вот это. Barak, знаете его? After a couple of tries, we finally agreed on a decent price to Osh and to the exclave of Barak, meaning that it was finally time for us to say goodbye to our two amazing Uzbek fixes. These two young Uzbek guys, despite the unsuccessful attempts at smoothing our way through the Uzbek exclaves of Shakhimardon and Sokh, still showcased an incredible example of the amazing Uzbek hospitality, which, at the end of the day, is one of the things that make Uzbekistan one of the greatest countries in the world.
Сколько на бензин?
Бензин то, что...
Газ, топливо.
На расход не что ли? Не, ничего не надо. Мозги не крути. Не, ничего не надо. Все только от души.
Много поездили просто? Туда сюда 2 часа.
Который, почему он не берет, он, короче, родственник из-за этого.
Окей, хорошо.
Родные, как.
Все, спасибо большое. Тогда до встречи, да?
Рахма, приятно познакомиться, спасибо, души, благодарю. Очень приятно было
Счастливо,
познакомиться.
давай, хорошо.
Давай, на связи.
Удачи.
Будем на связи. Да.
Давай,
Хороший пути. And so we set off on what was hopefully going to be the final road trip of the day in search for the lost Kyrgyz exclave of Barak, which was a couple of hours drive away. And therefore, we needed to make the trip entertaining in some way, for example, by playing some good old Italian rap to our taxi driver. Как вам итальянский рэп? Нравится? Итальянский рэп? Нет? Не нравится?
Нравится? Я...
Просто не понимаете. Okay, понимаю. So I'm really sorry for asking you this again, but how much are we paying for this guy and where is he taking us?
We're paying 300. That's the price that we agreed. Hopefully it doesn't change last minute like usually. He's taking us to the exclave of Kyrgyzstan in Uzbekistan.
Okay, so the plan is to try and get to this exclave. We have no idea if and how many people live there,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So we try and go there. If it does work, then we're gonna be the happiest people on earth. If it does not work, we're gonna be very sad and we're gonna head to Osh anyway on this car. Так что мало итальянцев в Фергане? Да.
Вот мы первые люди, которые вы встретили с...
Ну, он русский. Русских здесь есть, нет? Русский есть. Итальянцы.
Американец.
Так что мало итальянцев, которые хотят посмотреть такие эксклавы, можно сказать.
Кто не знает, что такое эксклав, старик? Барак. Первый раз слышишь?
Первый раз, окей, интересно. As we are now getting closer to the Barak exclave, I just found the Wikipedia page for this exclave, which is actually telling me something interesting. Indeed, I've got here both the English version and the Russian version of Barak, Kyrgyzstan, which is the name of the main village of the exclave, And according to the English version, the population of this exclave in 2021 was 985, which makes me think that it's still populated. And what is really interesting is that you've got a border dispute section on the English version, according to which for the past 30 years, many of the villages of Barak were asking the government to resettle them within the main border, because apparently they didn't really like to be excluded from the main part, from the mainland of Kyrgyzstan in this way. However, still according to Wikipedia, the Kyrgyz government wouldn't allow the people of Barak to move back to the proper borders of Kyrgyzstan in fear that they would not be able to keep the exclave and they would lose the territory to Uzbekistan. However, when I look at the Russian version, it doesn't explicitly say that the place is abandoned. However, all the verbs are using the past tense. So for example, it does say that the population of the territory used to be 8,000 people, the majority of which were of Kyrgyz ethnicity. So it does make it sound like it's abandoned. But yeah, maybe it will be abandoned. Maybe there will still be some people there. I guess we're gonna find out in 30 minutes. The emotions were ramping up as we were getting closer and closer to one of the hotspots that we had dreamt of visiting for many years. But despite the tension, the atmosphere inside the car was pretty relaxed, even when taking into consideration the communicative problems related to having 3 different people speaking to each other in a language that wasn't really native to any of us. А КПП ВОЖ работает круглосуточно, знаете, это большой КПП. У вас информация есть?
Хочешь знать, таможня Ош и Узбекистан работает 24 часа? Весь день, весь день.
Да, большой.
Переводчик, ёпта.
Он тоже по-русски делать, да?
Да. Ты говоришь по-русски? Итальянский спрашивает.
But amidst all this laughing and joking, we were indeed getting very close to the border with Kyrgyzstan. We passed godforsaken villages, we kept up our spirits, and we continued on through the least visited area of Uzbekistan while the sun was still slowly making its way towards the horizon. And then, after a couple of hours of driving, it was finally time to deviate from the main road towards Osh in search for our exclave. Yeah, we're just discussing with Pavel how nice and civilized this part of Uzbekistan looks, because if you think about it, we're literally crossing through villages and stuff, but still, it doesn't really feel like you're in a village, because I mean, the road is paved, you've got infrastructure, you've got nice cars, you don't see many Lada Zhigulis running around, and yeah, what do you think?
You see a lot of Chevrolets, white Chevrolets.
White Chevrolets. Мы говорим, что здесь очень, красивее эти деревни, да? What's your feeling? What do you think is it that we're going to say? Do you think the village will be abandoned and there will be military? Do you think there will be people living without military? What do you feel?
Honestly, or?
Honestly, yeah.
I think there might be a sign at one point where it says "Do not enter." It's like a military zone. Blah, blah,
But everything
blah.
will be abandoned.
Yeah, I think it will be empty.
Okay. Yeah.
That's my thing.
That's sort of what I expect as well, but I'm hoping that we can maybe step a foot inside somehow and somewhere. So we're really close now. We are the blue arrow right here. It says that we've still got 10 minutes to go. It looks like it's less than that though, because we've got this thing and then we've got the exclave right there. And we are just now crossing the latest villages, the last villages of Uzbekistan before the exclave. And before Kyrgyzstan proper, Osh, the first city in Kyrgyzstan after the proper border, is just a couple of kilometers down that way. Do you think, yeah, those trees must be the exclaves, right? The thing is, the GPS stopped working, correct?
Yeah, we have service, but there's nothing showing.
Our GPS stopped working, but we could see that the exclave was literally on the other side of the field, even though we had no idea of the road to take in order to get inside. So we decided to ask a gentleman that very luckily we found was walking a cow by the side of the road in this forsaken land.
Barak degan joy qayerda tog'a? Barak. Yo'q, o'zi keldik mana, hech qancha qo'ygan yo'q. Kelganmiz, chet ekan barakku.
Tushuntirman.
Soydan tushib o'ngga.
Mana choydan tushib bilan 10 kur burilasiz.
Rahmat, sog' bo'ling.
Rahmat. With me not knowing Uzbek, these minutes were the longest time of my life. I had no idea what was going on, and I had no idea what they were talking about. Was the guy saying that we would have easily made our way towards the exclave, or was he saying that if we had continued any further, we would have been shot at by some Kyrgyz police military?
Здесь место нет. Вон здесь солдат. Если
Да.
Где солдаты?
вот здесь.
О,
А посмотреть близко к границе.
Здесь место есть.
Место есть посмотреть, да?
Вот здесь солдат.
Look how close we are.
oh wow. Man. We've basically made it.
Pretty much.
Dude, I will count this one as a win. It took us like 15 hours and we had to take 3 different exclaves into consideration. But,
The end is where the people.
oh. So you think, so this is not military, it's freaking babushkas guarding the exclave, wow!
Kiridan o'ngga. O'nggacha soldat yo'q hozirda. Dinglatib qo'ymasin degan.
Солдат yok, да? Солдат yok. Солдат нет.
Здесь нет.
Вот, короче, речка это граница уже.
Guys, this is the border. That's the village / exclave of Barak. And we've got so freaking lucky because there's a random inhabitant just on the other side of the border that we can speak to. Salam alaikum.
Kyrgyz?
Uzbek? Uzbek? Kyrgyz? Kyrgyzstan? Mission completed, to a certain extent at least, because unfortunately we would not have been able to cross the river marking the border towards the exclave. But after everything that we went through that day, I was still very much going to consider that one as a success. I was super happy to just be standing there, meters away from the Kyrgyz exclave of Barak, with the cherry on top, being able to conversate with a local Kyrgyz exclavian, which is a word that I've just made up to indicate somebody who lives in an exclave. Он сказал, что киргиз, да.
Салам алейкум. Утон Кыргызстанга qarayapman.
Турист! Граница, да? Граница, и вы живете там?
Сколько людей?
Сколько людей?
Nechta odam yashaydi? 20 семья.
20 семей остались, вау. И вы все киргизы. А если вы хотите вож, например, уезжайте и вож, да? Wow. Dude, I think we saved the video. What do you think? Like this.
Probably.
We're speaking to a random villager who lives
O'tkazmaydi.
inside a Fergana Valley exclave.
It's impressive that it's not abundant.
And it's amazing that we can talk to him just like this. Туриста нельзя? Только
Тоже
киргизы.
кыргызстанский нельзя.
Тоже киргизы. О,
Люди тоже нельзя.
Только местный, кто живет
только
там.
местный. Yo, dude, I'm taking a selfie with a villager of a Kyrgyz exclave. Wow. What are you saying?
I think it's interesting that the guy speaks Uzbek, but he says he's Kyrgyz. So he probably knows both languages.
Yeah, probably. How freaking random and how freaking lucky did we just get? Can you imagine if we had been there 30 minutes before or later, we would never been able to speak to a proper exclaver.
It's meant to be, bro.
From Barak.
Our
This is meant to be. I mean, after all that happened today, with the fact that we got rejected in a way,
At
to
least
Shaki
something.
Mardon.
We
Yeah.
got something on camera.
Yeah, and can you see the border? But apparently we can't cross it. We can't cross this river because entrance to the exclave is permitted only for local people. Not even Kyrgyz people can cross. Oh my god, so many mosquitoes. Not even Kyrgyz people can cross into this exclave coming from Osh or Bishkek. Снимайте, давайте, давай. О, мне нравится ваш это, как...
Как Узбекистан?
Ну, давай снимаем фотки для водителя. Давайте фотку с эксклавом.
Это группа Яндекс.
Яндекс
Да, Яндекс группа.
Салам алейкум.
Яндекс группа.
Ассаламу алейкум, Узбекистан, Киргизистан. Узбекистан самая лучшая страна в мире. Я люблю Узбекистан.
Итальянец, американец, русский, барак.
So this has been the story for my first days in Uzbekistan. White Chevrolet and Kyrgyz exclaves. Good, I can't freaking believe that we've got so lucky. We've got very unlucky with Shahimardon and Soch, but we've got very lucky with being able to speak to a random villager just on the other side of the border. Man, this is some North-South Korea type of shit, right? How do you feel, huh? I've been opening up all day and I've been telling you my emotions and how I feel. I've been sad, I felt happy, and I felt sad again and then happy again throughout this day. But how do you feel?
It feels surreal that such a place exists within a country. A country within a country does something that I've never seen before.
Спасибо, что везли туда. Мы очень рады. Guys, I think that's all from the border. Hey, there's some sheep. Хаер, babushkas. Dudes, thanks ever so much for keeping me company, for keeping me and Pavel company on this trip to one of the most remote parts of Central Asia, really. And yeah, I'll see you next time.